James Ernest of the Grueling Truth Radio Network here with author Jeff Webster of the Parlay. So, Jeff, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, the story takes place between 2005 to 2008, and this is before the release of the iPhone, which seems like a really long time ago because of the profound impact that device had on society and behavior, if you kind of think about it. And the main character, Brock Albert, is working at his first professional job. He's a marketing researcher in Chicago, and he's just completed his undergrad and graduate degree, and he feels like he's done everything that's expected of him, but he still feels unfulfilled, and he's not happy. And concurrently, he's filling his free time in with his passions, which include sports, gambling, drinking with his friends, and a lot of activities you'd expect a mid-20s guy to typically experience. So as a hobby, he starts constructing a statistical model that predicts the outcome of men's college basketball games, essentially trying to break point spreads. And throughout this narrative, he's got a group of friends that he's known since high school, and he confides in while he's kind of developing this model. And during one of their gatherings, it's actually a Christmas party they have in their small town called Flanagan, Illinois, there's a huge misunderstanding, and Brock ends up losing his job. So with his back against the wall, he's unemployed, he's 26, him and his friends decide to take all their money, kind of pull it together, leverage the statistical model, and go to Las Vegas and take on their sports books. So that's kind of the high-level summary.
Yeah, I was going to say that, sounds great. I mean, it sounds exciting and interesting, something that everyone can relate to, like being bored at work. I mean, who hasn't had that happen before?
Yeah, and if I was going to give you the 30-second elevator speech, I would probably say that if you like the films Animal House, Moneyball, and Ocean's 11, this is probably going to be in your wheelhouse. And if you and your friends have ever taken a buddy trip to Vegas, this might be your cup of tea.
Nice. So, I mean, a little bit of The Hangover, but nothing too silly like The Hangover was.
Well, there's some silliness in there. It doesn't get as crazy as The Hangover, though.
Cool. So, do you consider yourself Brock?
There are elements of Brock, yes, potentially. I am actually a marketing research professional, so there is a little shade of truth to every piece of fiction. So, yes, sir.
Excellent. And then, are you big into the college basketball?
Absolutely. It's pretty funny because I was just thinking about this the other day with the tournament night. I got absolutely murdered in the first round, and I don't think anybody saw Virginia going down in the first round to 16. And my girlfriend and I were actually in Vegas when that happened, and people were cheering and going nuts. It was surreal. But my friends and I have actually gone to Vegas every year in our early 20s, so a lot of that inspired this.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not dishonest enough to say that I thought they would lose that game to them, but I really did think that was going to be a close game because I got to see them play earlier in the year against NKU, my alma mater, and that team is a good team. It wasn't just like one of those shockers, or it wasn't just Virginia had a bad night. They're actually solid. UMBC or whatever they are.
There is so much parity anymore with college basketball. I mean, you just pretty much throw out the records nowadays. And you got teams like Wichita State. Everybody's gunning for them now. You're not going to surprise anybody. So.
Exactly. Yeah, that's actually one of the ones that are in one of my local conferences with the AAC, because being here in Northern Kentucky, we have NKU, of course, and we have UC and Xavier, kind of a hotbed for college basketball. So, yeah, people in this area, I mean, it is the perfect book for my listeners because they love college basketball.
Yep, and one of the main characters in the book is actually a player on Northern Iowa. So there's a big, heavy slant towards the Missouri Valley Conference in this book. So it's heavy on the mid-majors, if you're into that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I was going to say, what inspired you to choose that mid-major school?
I grew up in a small town in the Midwest, and I just kind of watched that conference rise. So you've got, you had teams like at Creighton kind of outgrew the conference, and they left. You had the rise of Southern Illinois with Bruce Weber there. You had a number of different schools, and that conference just became this little juggernaut. At one point, you had, I think, 2 or 3 teams in the conference in the tournament make a run. So, I've always kind of had an affinity for that conference. I went to the University of Illinois and the University of Florida, but I always kind of loved cheering for those mid-majors in the tournament. So that's kind of why I wanted to focus on that. And it always gets to the tournament when you're gambling on that. most people don't know about those schools. So you have some inside information that nobody else does, and that's kind of the exciting part of the tournament.
Exactly. Yeah, like the whole what was it? Chicago, Illinois? Was it this year?
Yeah, the Loyola Chicago, Illinois. Prosser was actually a coach at Illinois State, and they kind of ran him out, and I was super happy for him. Bruce Weber, he was fired from Illinois, so when those two played, it was kind of win-win. They're both great coaches, so I was happy to see one of them make it to the Final Four.
What was the craziest?
Or the Elite Eight.
The Elite Eight. Yeah, great tournament this year because, like you said, the parity made it so much more exciting. What was the craziest thing you did when you got bored? Obviously, you didn't start a gambling racket.
Oh gosh, I don't know the craziest thing when I was bored. That's a good question. I have a lot of different hobbies. Probably too many. I actually collect old school video games.
Oh,
I don't know if that's crazy, but I have over 550 old Nintendo games.
Yeah, if you got that many, that counts.
It's pretty overwhelming when people come in and my house and stuff like that. And then I also play the drums in my free time. I go to a lot of concerts. Went to Bonnaroo for a number of years, so a lot of stories there.
So how good are you at picking games?
It depends on the game. I typically only pick something I'm super confident with, but even the best laid plans fail. But that said, I do like the parlay as a wager. If I see a string of games that I like, I have had some success, but you can't get greedy. That's where that balance comes in. If you try to pick too many games, obviously your risk is increased. But I've had some success. When I was at the University of Florida was 17-0. I think they were 17-0, and it was when they had Noah and Torian Green and Horford and all those guys, and nobody had them on the radar. They just broke into the top 25, and I'm like, I'm going to put money on them to win the whole thing, and they did. And I got them at a pretty good clip. I think I won $1,000. I think I got them 100-1 or something because they weren't ranked preseason. They weren't ranked preseason in the top 25. So that was a good get for me. So I'm always kind of looking at opportunities as far as that goes. How about you?
Oh yeah, I love picking the games. I've never actually bet on anything because I'm too paranoid about it. That I just that I don't trust myself to win. No matter, I would assume automatically the other thing is going to happen. Like basically, if I said UK was going to win a game, they'd be the one they would lose, that kind of thing.
Well, I typically go in with it as play money.
Now that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, I put $100 in my account, and however high it gets, and however low, when I run out, I'm out. So that's what I do every year. I do it for college football, and I do it for college basketball, and when I'm out, I'm out. I do the same thing when I go to Vegas. And that's
exactly.
It works pretty well for me.
So for an author of a book about gambling, it's all about the responsible gambling and doing things the right way.
That's correct, but there's also things in here that play on kind of the desperation as well. There's pieces of it where you're kind of edge of your seat because you don't really know what's going to happen, and they're so desperate. The guy's lost his job and he's got nothing else, so he's putting everything behind this. So there's a lot on the line for this character.
So how important is Vegas to this book?
Vegas is kind of the antagonist, really. I would say that there's a lot of themes in the book, and one of them he's kind of battling himself. So one of the themes is kind of maturity. He's got to learn how to grow up, essentially. I think everybody kind of goes through that phase where they're kind of trying to figure out who they are. One of them is kind of another theme is kind of this journey to find happiness. And a lot of people define happiness in different ways. And for him, it wasn't money, it wasn't academic or job success. He had to kind of figure that out and go through a lot to get there. And then the final theme was kind of betting on yourself. And not in a literal sense of entrepreneurship, but kind of spending your time where it matters the most, kind of this work-life balance. If you love your job, it's okay to dive into it, but don't want to compromise the things that mean the most to you. So a lot of different themes kind of overall, but I would say, yeah, Vegas is the antagonist. He feels like he has to beat Vegas throughout this whole thing. But, when he gets through it, I'm not going to spoil it and tell you what happens, but he kind of finds out who he is at the end of that. Was
this book a way of betting on yourself?
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, essentially, that's what he's doing. He goes into the business world and
no, not him, not not the character, like you. Like you decided you want to do this to, bet on yourself and say, hey, I can, write this great novel, that kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. That's absolutely. It's that was intentional as well. This has been a challenge, to say the least. I actually began writing this 12 years ago, and when I finished it, I started pitching it to literary agents and publishers, and the response was, "This isn't for us," and we don't publish sports fiction. And at that time, Harry Potter, Twilight, Hunger Games, all that stuff was super hot, and they didn't want to talk to me. And I was actually doing some research on this, and there's an article that a New Yorker contributor, Reeves Wiseman, wrote, and he was publishing it. And his question was, "Why are great sports novels so rare?" And he hypothesized that men don't read fiction is one of the possibilities, and novelists don't write about sports. And if you ask most readers what's their favorite sports novel, most people are going to struggle to come up with something. And most people are probably going to mention nonfiction. So I was trying to do something that, I wanted to do, and I believed a story people wanted to hear, and that's kind of why I did it. And it was funny, the other day, it was about a week ago, I was searching on Amazon and looking up the top sports fiction novels, and I want to say that 9 out of 10 of them are romance novels, where the main character is a professional athlete. I was like, well, that needs to change. So
exactly.
I don't know if I'm going to be I don't know if I'm going to be a catalyst for change, but I felt like there's a niche.
It's a really nice book, and like you said, about the they're all shoot. I got a bookshelf full of books, the different authors and all that I've interviewed, and I'm trying to think of any of them that are actually besides yours fiction. Yeah, I can't think of any.
Well, and it's a story that really hasn't been told.
Which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, so and I'll probably write a couple more sports fiction novels, but nice. I also want to explore other genres. But at the same time, I don't think authors should be stifled in staying away from certain genres just because, quote unquote, they won't sell. I think there's people that are interested in it, just a matter of finding them, right?
Exactly. It's just, you need to have the market or have the product there for people to like it, because if they've never, I'm trying to think of times where there was a nonfiction. Casey at the Bat, I think, is that puts it in perspective. That's how long since I remember an actual fiction. But this is really nice. Like you said, it's got like an Ocean's 11 kind of feel to it. Animal House, just kind of a nice mixture of things. So selling it on the sports, maybe not, but selling it on just the excitement, the intensity of the book is really, really interesting.
Well, and I think some of the early feedback I've gotten, I've actually been surprised that a lot of women have actually enjoyed it. And I think that, honestly, if you've ever filled out a March Madness bracket, this is probably going to be something that will appeal to you. I don't want to be sexist and say this is a book only for men. I've actually, gotten some pretty good feedback. So there's a love story that organically kind of pops in there. I don't know how it happened. I was just writing and it kind of happened, so that's there as well. So it's a little bit for everybody.
So you mentioned one of your hobbies is music. Are you in a band?
I was. I was actually in 2 bands in my early 20s. I was in a classic rock cover band, and I was actually in a metal band as a drummer. And I still play. I do play a little guitar and bass, not very good, but I have played the drums since I was probably 14. So
nice. Let's see. So what would you want? What are you thinking about doing for your next project?
The next project is going to be a science fiction novel. I'll probably try to have that done next year. And basically, that just a little teaser is. That's going to be about a guy that ends up getting sent back in time, and he gets stuck. Ooh. And he has to battle with what to do and how to approach that. Does he try to better his own life? Does he try to better the lives of others? And I'll kind of just leave it at that. So that's kind of what I'm working on right now.
Cool. Kind of I mean, obviously the book won't be anything like Hot Tub Time Machine, but kind of how the guy goes back in Hot Tub Time Machine and he's like, does he do the right thing or not? I like that. Yeah, that sounds exciting.
Yeah, this is probably going to be a 180 turn. It's going to be a hard turn. It's not going to be as comical. This will be a little bit more serious. So that's kind of
more
trying something a little different. Yeah.
Sounds great. Who would you like to thank for helping you with the book? Like you mentioned, it took over the 12-year period.
Well, I was really the inspiration for this was my friends and family. They're the biggest inspiration. And then I had, my friend Katie Hendrick helped me. She's a professional editor. She helped me edit it. My girlfriend Miranda Wilson was there. She helped me. And then I had my cover design, which I love. The cover design was actually Reka Kiss, and she was a designer that's over in Serbia, of all places. And I sent her a book, and she was ecstatic to receive it. So it all kind of came together nicely. So yeah.
So were those, I don't want to say CGI'd in, because that's not the right one with the photo, but I guess cropped and edited in? Because it wasn't like she actually threw dice, and oh my gosh, if she could line that.
Right, no, yeah, she kind of pulled all that together,
it's really cool.
Yeah, and it really summed up kind of everything. It was simple, and it wasn't too overwhelming, and that's kind of what I was going for.
Yeah, definitely. It's got a nice look, and like how everything else is black and white, but the dice, I mean, it's just, I agree with you. So if fans are wanting to buy the book, where would be the best place for them to go get it?
So it's available on paperback and ebook right now on Amazon, and I'm actually running 2 promotions. I'm not sure when you'll air this, but there's a contest on Goodreads where I'm giving away a free signed paperback copy of the book that's going to run now until May 13th.
Okay, yeah, we'll have it out before then.
Okay, and then I'm actually going to run the Kindle promotion where it's going to be free on Kindle from April 18th to April 22nd. So not sure if it's going to air then, but if
it'll
people
be kind
are
of
aware,
close on that one because it'll probably go up. Yeah, about the 20th. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay.
We'll try to get
those 2 promotions give people opportunity to get the book. So
excellent.
Very good.
Sounds good. So if they were wanting to follow you on social media and the web, where do they check you out on there?
The publisher website is diamondinOnePress.com. And then the Facebook, you can find me, Jefferson Webster, Diamond in One Press, all one word. And I have a Jefferson Webster author page if you want to like and follow me. I do a lot of contests on there, so if you just like and follow, there's a good chance you could end up with a free book at some point.
Awesome. Thank you, Jefferson, for coming on the show. We greatly appreciate it, and we wish you the best in the future and would love to have you back on.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Welcome.